Well, there I go. I didn't know where I was. Okay. Hello, everybody. It's Sunday night. This is Paris Procopus, and welcome to the Paris Procopus Show. A little bit of an infusion point of fun, knowledge, and all kinds of other stuff, and stupid jokes. So, at any rate, welcome to my show. I have a lot to talk about today. A lot going on out there, and it looks like Pennsylvania is going to get rather interesting in the next day or so because Justice Alito, Sam Alito in the Supreme Court, he decided to have, well, a couple days ago, he basically gave until the 9th of December, which is a day after that kind of drop dead date. And the Democrats were like, we've already won. What's the point? And then today, out of the blue, Alito decided to, let's put it this way. So as of December 9th, the date for Pennsylvania and its officials to respond to the emergency application for the injunction and relief filed, et cetera, et cetera. And after the federal safe harbor day, but then, which is December 8th. So then Alito this morning, because the Democrats were all like, yay, we're going to win, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, Alito said, actually, you need to have all your briefs and everything prepared by the 8th in the morning. So now that leaves the possibility of having litigation still pending in this. And it's going to be rather interesting to see how everything plays out with that, because Pennsylvania is 20 electoral votes. Now, Pennsylvania in and of itself will not change the result of the election, which is unofficially right now Joe Biden winning. And I say unofficially to all you crackpot, never Trump haters out there, it is unofficial. It's not official until the Electoral College at least has their vote, and it's certified by the Congress on January the 5th, I believe. So it ain't over until it's over. So let's settle down this. But let's see if anything. I'm just looking to see on his ruling at all. But it basically requires, while they're still within the safe harbor period, so it creates an official litigation happening. But that's not the only thing that's happening. As I mentioned in my show the other day, Nevada's having a lot of things going on. Now Michigan and their lawsuits, now they're actually going to be able to do forensic signature comparison. Obviously in Georgia, that's already been talked about. And Arizona is still kind of in contention there. And obviously my very home state of Wisconsin, I'm hearing rumblings out there that there are at least 6, if not 7 different lawsuits moving forward. And so we'll ultimately see what happens. So yeah, Jay. Hi, Darlene. Hi, Jay. Jay is saying that Alito to the rescue. Well, sort of. Gives a little time, but doesn't guarantee anything. However, it does increase the possibility that ultimately the Supreme Court could basically throw out the electoral votes from Pennsylvania because of all the alleged cheating. So, but once again, that only changes the equation a little bit. It drops Joe Biden down to 286 electoral votes, which is still well over the 270. So now he needs to pick up 16 other electoral votes. That would ultimately bring into play, like if you could get Michigan, I believe is 19 electoral votes, and 19 electoral votes means that's more than enough. Now nobody gets to 270, and then the vote goes to Congress. So that's going to be ultimately what may end up happening, unless the Supreme Court acts in a fashion where it says, okay, we said any votes that showed up after the election day and any mail-in votes were null and void because they were the law that was created to allow for mail-in voting was unconstitutional, then they could actually change the equation, and then ultimately Donald Trump would end up winning the state of Pennsylvania, and then all of a sudden he gets closer to 270. So there's a lot of ways it could go, or they could actually just refuse to hear the cases, ultimately the other cases. But right now it looks like it's going to happen. So Sharon, yep, you called your state senator and state rep. Awesome. Keep the pressure up there. The Wisconsin legislature is planning on having a hearing on Friday, which is the 9th, or no, the 11th. So that would be, it would basically create, it's after the due date of the 8th. So I don't know why they waited that long. They should have had it already, but I'm hearing that the Trump campaign actually asked Voss to wait to have the hearings until after that safe harbor date. So I think there might be some kind of legal strategy there. December 17th. But I think this needs, the big reason why I want this to happen is because it may not change the outcome of the election in Wisconsin, or it may. But the point is, there were shenanigans happening. I hear all kinds of anecdotal evidence, which leads me to one of my topics tonight, is I want to talk a little bit about the fact that I had a conversation with a couple of, I guess, witnesses. These are folks that were involved with Central Count. They were there on election night and saw all kinds of things happening where they would have like Republicans together at the same table when you're supposed to have one Democrat, one Republican at each counting table and stuff like that. So it leads me to believe they had Democrats in there. And then pretty much everything shutting down around 3 o'clock, but then suddenly a load of ballots coming in around 3:45. And it's weird, but you got people that they're willing to tell their story, but they're scared to go public with it because of what job they have, what they do for a living. And, they're afraid that they work with a bunch of liberals and the liberals control where they work. And it's sad that people even have to think that way. You're allowed to have your own opinion on things. And at the great point. I don't understand why they're not thrown out either. I think that's the whole point, what they're trying to do, because state law requires that absentee ballots are requested by the person who is filling out the ballot. That is, we don't know. We don't ultimately know what's going to happen with that, but I know that's one of the things that they're doing. And if that's the case, there's something like, I think it's 180,000 Wisconsin ballots that are like that. So this election is far from over. But regardless of the outcome, even at this point, because honestly, November, no matter who wins, half the country is going to be up in arms and upset, and because clearly the Republicans are going to be upset if Biden succeeds because the Democrats stole the election. And the Democrats are going to be upset if Trump wins because we prevented them from stealing the election. So it's going to be a very interesting couple years to be sure. Hey, Tracy, how's it going? Yep, there's the backdated of the ballots. If they can prove it, that's the hard part. See, the Democrats have created they skirt every law. They change everything to make it very easy to cheat, but they also make it very easy to cover things up. Hey, Tracy, how's it going? We got Benjamin. How's it going, Benjamin? Welcome to the show. We've got and Stephanie's in the house too. Ooh, Stephanie. And Kathy. Yeah, I need to know more about that 100,000 ballots being backdated. If they can prove that they were being backdated, that's huge. But once again, it depends on the evidence right now. And I don't think it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. I think because these are essentially civil litigation, it's a preponderance of the evidence. And Yes, it is evidence. People say that's not evidence of fraud. Actually, yes, it is. Sworn testimony is admissible in a court of law. Benjamin, I'm not sure. Criminal law final coming to Barrel. Hey, Benjamin, you should pay attention. There's going to be maybe other different things you're going to charge people with. So Benjamin's going to law school, so that's great. The applications were held at one place and the envelopes in another. Are the attorneys? Yes, I believe that there's. All I can say, Wisconsin is all right. I agree. I like that, Benjamin. I love it. Wisconsin is actually ground zero for several cases. And a lot of the legal folks that I've talked to are saying that Wisconsin's actually, among all the states, you got Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, possibly even New Mexico and Virginia, if they're needed. But Wisconsin seems to have the easiest proof of proving these anomalies and such. Which should be interesting. I think Wisconsin has the potential of getting thrown out. Now, a lot of people are saying it's over, and I can see where people are saying it's over. Hey, it's an uphill climb. You can't do this. So, but I've also learned long ago, you don't count Trump out. I mean, initially when they started saying there was all this Russian collusion and stuff like that, and so it's like, well, if it's an accusation, I honestly thought it was something that needed to be looked into. I didn't think it was real, but it should have been looked into because I think it was something that Hillary Clinton was quite capable of. But the problem is when we went through that whole rigmarole with the independent counsel and all, with all that, and all they did was investigate the Trump campaign, but they never investigated Hillary's campaign. And that's what was missing with all that. It wasn't the fact that they investigated. They need, if there's allegations, they should investigate. I would expect them to investigate. But there's also the reason, I mean, they found out early on that this dog didn't hunt, so to speak. And what that means is they should immediately come out and say, hey, there's nothing there. They were trying everything they could to find something, the smallest little thing, like President Trump had ice cream with Vladimir Putin or something to get him on. And there was nothing, no matter how hard they tried. So at any rate, I'm telling you, never count President Trump out. And even if by some miracle Biden pulls this off, and I don't mean a good miracle, I mean a bad miracle, but if Biden pulls this off, you still shouldn't count Trump out. There's a lot going on, and this was a big deal because of the fact that on the election November 3rd, no matter what the outcome is, it's important to realize that Trumpism won. President Trump and his coattails led to the Republicans nearly retaking the House of Representatives by only a few seats. They got within a few seats and likely holding on to the Senate. This was supposed to be a blue wave that night. And because of President Trump's popularity and getting at least 15 million more votes than he got in 2016. Yeah, that's definitely coattail effect of President Trump. So Trumpism won, including the state legislatures. The state legislatures, the Democrats didn't pick up a single state legislature. In fact, they lost 3 state legislatures to the Republicans. So how do you like that? It's I don't know. It's interesting to see what happens. And I think that's the one thing. I'm still waiting for the Kraken to be released. It's hard to keep the faith without evidence. And this is okay. But this is the point that I'm going to make on this. Okay. If the evidence is out there, it's not wise for them to release it to the public. They're better off releasing it in a court of law when they have no chance to defend on it. If they release it to the public, they can sit and do spin and do whatever they want. And I think that's probably logic behind it. If there is evidence, but the question, does it rise to the level of overturning 20,000 votes in the state of Wisconsin? That's what the courts have to determine. If they throw out a certain number of ballots because they were illegal or they were not improperly filed, yep. And Darlene, this is my big point. If President Trump does ultimately lose this, he can come back in 2024. They have no idea what they've unleashed. What's up with Arizona? I live here and there's nothing available to you. You've got to go through alternative media. You got to go to Newsmax. You got to go to OANN, One America News. Go to some of those and you'll get more information. Check out Tim Pool also. He's on YouTube. He's actually a Democrat. He was a Hillary Clinton supporter. He voted for Barack Obama. Did not like Trump, but in the end, he ended up voting for Trump because he didn't like what the Democrats were doing. He seems to be very balanced in the way he interprets things. And he's also saying, and what I'm seeing is a lot of evidence out there that the media is starting to realize that President Trump can actually pull this off. Will he pull it off? That remains to be seen. It's an uphill climb, to be sure. But I think that's the one thing that the media didn't count on and the Democrats didn't count on. They thought eventually he would just concede. I think they thought he would concede. They were going to make it so overwhelming that Trump lost and they would declare the office of President-elect Biden and all that stuff, that Trump's just going to go away quietly into the good night. Trump's a fighter. And I watched his speech last night, and his speech was actually phenomenal. It was his stump speech. He's not acting like somebody who's been defeated. And he's up there talking, and the energy behind it, he's fighting. He even said straight out, hey, if I had lost legitimately, he could go retire to Florida and, have a good life. But he's upset about them stealing it. And I would be too. That's the whole reason I'm ticked off about all this. But then it was funny to hear him because he's obviously he was shilling for the two Senate candidates out there, Perdue and Loeffler, whatever her name is, the two Republicans that are running into runoff elections, the ones that we need to win at least one. Really nice to get two, but we need at least one. And he was shilling for them and everything else. But then he was reaching out to Representative Collins. I think it was Collins. He was in the crowd and he said, hey, do you want to run for governor of Georgia in 2022? He is so ticked off at Kemp and his ineptitude and that moron Secretary of State who basically gave everything to the Democrats before the election. He gave them everything they wanted so they could pull off the cheating in Atlanta. It's absolutely crazy. Steven Crowder. Yeah, watch. Steven Crowder's another guy who does it. Also look at Blaze TV. Glenn Beck. A lot of people think of him as a tinfoil hat guy, but you know what? I have to give Glenn Beck credit. Huge never Trumper in 2016. Like viciously never Trump. I don't know if he voted for McMullen or didn't vote at all, but he was aggressively never Trump. And he was looking into this, and he kept an even kill. And he's the one that found all this evidence. And there's a video of him about 2 weeks ago where he just went off on everybody, where he just basically said, I'm tired. He goes, we've been fighting this. We bring out this evidence and nobody does a goddamn thing. Pardon my language, but this was essentially what he was saying. He didn't say it in so many words. But he just said he's been complaining about this, but they've been labeling him as a crackpot. Turns out he's not as much of a crackpot as people thought he was. And then he ended up supporting Trump. Mark Levin voted for Trump in 2016 because he didn't want Hillary Clinton, but he was no Trump fan either. And he's even coming down and saying that Trump was probably the greatest president we've had since Reagan, and probably even better than Reagan in a lot of ways. And the one thing that makes Trump better than Reagan, no, he did not have the communication ability and the finesse of Ronald Reagan, but he got more done in his first 2.5 years, because remember, the rest of it was all impeachment and COVID. He got more done in his first 2.5 years than any president in recent history. They got done in 2 years. Whoa, here, hold on a second. We followed Wisconsin. Awesome. Tomorrow by noon? I thought it had to be but today by noon. I don't know. Brian, there's a lot of stuff happening around. I mean, I think there's multiple suits happening all at once as well. So we'll see what happens. What's happening. If you feel like coming on, Brian, I can send you a link to come on. Let me know. Yeah, I love Doug Collins as well. He's great in the House of Representatives. I think he ran against Loeffler in a primary. He ended up losing the primary to her, but that's fine. I want to keep him in the House of Representatives. We are within a heartbeat of taking the House of Representatives. We'll likely take it in 2022 if all goes well. However, I bet you there's a lot of behind the scenes jockeying there of whatever potentially moderate Democrats there are who don't want the squad to have all this power and all that stuff. Because basically the difference in the House of Representatives between the Democrats and the Republicans, the squad, that's it. 4, maybe 6 votes. That's all the Democrats lead by. If we could get 6 of them to come around, and if we could get 6 Republicans or 6 Democrats to join the Republicans, at least for 2 years, offer them something, offer them chairmanships, offer them something, or give them some sort of, without selling our soul to the devil, we could guarantee that the Democrats won't have power. And then, who knows? There's a lot of stuff happening here. Okay. And the fact that President Trump is fighting this, once again, is not going to guarantee that he's going to win. And I think he knows there's no guarantee either. Nobody knows what the Supreme Court is going to do. Yeah, I'd like to think that Kavanaugh and Clarence Thomas are locks for Trump. If for anything, gives them a big chance to get revenge. Clarence Thomas gets a chance to get revenge against Joe Biden, and Kavanaugh gets to get revenge against Kamala Harris. What they both did in their confirmation hearings. Not that I'm saying that there should be revenge in the SCOTUS, but let's be real. They're human, for crying out loud. But we have some opportunities here to build on something and guarantee that the Democrats will be a minority party for quite some time if we play our cards right. But the most important thing we have to do Yep, that's the one that was turned away, but oh, sweet. Sweet, that's good to know. Yeah. I'd love to get your comments on Brian Hagedorn, but I'm not gonna. Okay, I went hard. I disagree with Brian Hagedorn on one thing. I think because the Wisconsin state constitution does implicitly state that the Supreme Court of Wisconsin has original jurisdiction. It can have original jurisdiction in cases. But Brian Hagedorn and the liberals on there were making an argument that they need to go through the process first. So they didn't kick the case out. They just said, hey, it's not ripe yet. So you got to go through the process. And one thing I found out about Brian Hagedorn and looking through some of his previous rulings and stuff like that is that he is very much a stickler for process. Good, bad, or indifferent. Process. And, and that wasn't a surprise. Okay, I have no idea what this person is saying. Why are you talking if BO1 is listening? I have no idea what that is, but anyway. So, she still sides with him most of the time. She doesn't vote at all. She? Who's she? Oh, Tulsa. Yeah, maybe Tulsa would come out. I mean, they destroyed Tulsa Gabbard. They treated her horribly. And I'm not talking to no one. Actually, I have quite a few people on Facebook. So anyway, nice try, though. But I can talk to nobody. They can watch it later, pre-recorded. So welcome to the show. You're watching. So I don't know. Hagedorn is going to be an interesting part of this. I hope he does the right thing. He strikes me as someone who is very much for the rule of law. And there is enough, even if it's circumstantial, there is enough evidence to show that there was cheating going on. And there were procedural things that the Democrats basically pissed on. They didn't follow any of the procedures that were in law, like requiring that people request an absentee ballot, or this nonsense about, oh, you're indefinitely confined. Oh, bullcrap. Nobody was confined to their home at all. So, hello, Stephen Finn. My nemesis. Haha. No, I mean that with all due affection, Stephen. You're a cool guy. So we're allowed to disagree. And that's the whole point. I think, Stephen and I are great examples of, hey, we can still get along with each other even if we disagree on things. I think it's important. And I think that's something that we need to, whoa, I knocked my camera. That's something that we need to do. We need to start figuring out a way, because we are in dangerous territory. If Trump somehow pulls this off and the Supreme Court sides with him and he takes the oath of office on January 20th, or if Biden remains the likely victor, I guess it will use the term, unless something extraordinary happens, unless we can prove all this, if he remains the person who takes the oath of office on January 20th, and then, of course, when Kamala Harris takes the oath of office on January 21st, we are going to be a divided country. There's going to be, let's face it, and this is all by design. The Republicans believe that this election was stolen, and it's not just one. I'm sorry, getting distracted by some comments out here, but we've got, here, let's take a look at this. Rick Esenberg agrees with Hagedorn, saying law doesn't require this lawsuit to go to lower. Yep. And I disagree with Hagedorn too. I can get the exact language. That's what I was going to do before I was distracted. If anybody's interested in coming on to shows, then let me know and I'll bring you on. But the Constitution says Let me go to my photos here. I took a screenshot off of it because I'm such a nerd. But here it is. The Supreme Court shall have superseding or superintending and administrative authority over all the courts. The Supreme Court has appellate jurisdiction over the courts and may hear original actions and proceedings. The Supreme Court may issue all writs necessary in aid of its jurisdiction. The Supreme Court may review judgments and orders of the Court of Appeals and remove cases from the Court of Appeals and may accept cases on certification by the Court of Appeals, etc. So basically says they may hear original actions and proceedings. They can hear this. Brian was incorrect. He's got his reasons, but I think he likes it to go. He wants a case to rule on. But what people are forgetting, and there's a lot of people that are like threatening the dude's life and stuff like that. I'm sorry. I disagree with the guy in this case and a couple other cases that he's ruled on, but I'm not going to sit and threaten his life and stuff like that. I wouldn't threaten the life of Joe Biden, for crying out loud. That people have got to stop that. We're going to turn the United States into a third world country by acting like a bunch of heathens and morons. We have a rule of law, and let's try our best to follow it. I know it's not easy right now because the Democrats are not adhering to the rule of law, but we've got to do it. We've got to rise above all that. So, but in either case, Hagedorn didn't, and neither did the liberals for that matter. They didn't say that they don't have standing to sue and there's no there there. But my concern with Hagedorn is he seems to be developing a little bit of a track record, and that's what really concerns me. And this track record seems to be either siding with the liberals or dissenting on his own, because it doesn't seem like he wants to make a ruling on any case with such a major impact, like the mask mandate back in April, or like the 200,000 voters in the voter rolls, or the putting the Green Party back in the ballot because there wasn't enough time. You can have your clerks look at the signatures that the Green Party submitted and see if they're sufficient. They had their 1,000 signatures or 2,000 signatures, whatever they needed. Apparently the candidate moved in between. So it was some stupid rule that the election commission made up. And that's another reason to have these hearings. And I've been pushing Robin Voss to have these public hearings. And if for another reason, he's been getting on me too, because I've been getting on him. I said straight out that it seems like there's a lot of people in the state legislature who care more about their reelection chances than they do about doing the right thing. I would rather lose the entire majority for them to do the right thing. But then, he said I'm spreading conspiracy theories and all this stuff. I didn't spread any conspiracy theories. We want action. We don't want lip service. So he's holding the hearings, and to his credit, I think he's probably left with no choice. I'm sure he's gotten a lot of pressure. But the question is, are we going to do anything with these hearings? Yes, I know part of them are tied to the lawsuits that President Trump is filing and all that. There's like 6 or 7 of them that the Trump team and other people are filing. And they're tied to this, but they also have to come up with legislation to improve it, get rid of mail-in voting, reinforce the fact that we require an ID for any single ballot. And that's the whole thing about the whole thing. God, that makes no sense. But this indefinitely confined thing, they literally changed the law without the legislature. And those indefinitely confined ballots should not count at all. Because nobody with COVID was indefinitely confined. Yeah, the recommendation was that you quarantine for 14 days, but there's no guards outside your door keeping you in there. You can go walk in the park. You can go get a gallon of milk or a pack of condoms, or what? Why did I use that analogy? I don't know. It's just... Anyway, so And I've got a guest here. I'm gonna bring on Stephanie, or should I call her Sarah today? Or let's say Gertrude. I'm gonna call her Gertrude. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna bring Stephanie on from the Great White North. Come on in. Hello, Stephanie.
Hey, Paris. How's it going?
Good. How's life up there in Door County?
Good. Nothing really exciting, but
you just took a road trip. You went
to Madison. I did,
yesterday.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. There was a rally there. Was it well attended, or was it? It was wasn't publicized too much.
It was more. It was like probably 100 people, and it was definitely more libertarian, a little bit more further. Probably I didn't agree with everything there, but I did agree with some of the sentiment, and so it was interesting.
I was going to go, but I didn't go.
Yeah.
So next weekend, there's a big one next weekend. David Clark is putting it on, and it's not a lot to do with Trump, but it's more to do with Tony Evers.
Oh, okay. And that's in Madison, or
yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I could go to that one. We'll see.
Still the People's Republic, and this is just orange juice. Sorry, guys.
Are you going to the one tomorrow with?
No, I've got work obligations. I can't go. Okay. I would love to go, but I can't.
Yeah, I can't go either.
So what are you hearing? You mentioned earlier that Rick Esenberg disagrees with Hagedorn and saying the law doesn't require the law to go to court first.
Yeah.
What else are you hearing out there?
Well, I actually heard that on Vicki McKenna's show because she had Rick Esenberg on Friday.
Okay.
And I respect his opinion because I feel like he's very level-headed, very measured in his responses to, he's not going to be biased, and he's very fair-minded. So he was very, he felt very confident that the law is clear, that you don't have to, that the court, that Brian Hagedorn's explanation didn't really line up with the law. Like he says he's following the law, and he disagrees with his colleagues, the conservatives, basically. And Rick I think he made a good case that that's not the case.
Right.
and Hagedorn was wrong. So
this isn't the only time that he's done that. And actually, the one issue where I did agree with him on was his ruling on, I read his dissent when they did the April mask mandate issue, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We still had a majority on the Supreme Court at that point because the crackpot hadn't taken her seat yet. But so I saw where he was coming from.
Yeah.
The whole thing is process.
But even with this, in this instance, even his thoughts on the process doesn't line up with what the law states. Maybe
especially with time being of the essence.
Right. It's, okay, the precedence is this, but that doesn't mean there's not exceptions, or that even Chief Justice Rogensack said that she would have referred the factual parts of, like, that the stuff that needed to go to the lower courts, she would have referred to that to the lower court, but then, still taken up the case or whatever. So like she would have still worked within, been willing to work with that situation because of the timing of everything. So now it sounds like we still have time, based on what I've heard, that we can it'll still likely get through the court in time. My question is, and maybe you can clarify this, because there's the December 8th date, and then there's the 14th. And some of the stuff I'm reading is a little confusing about, like, that by the 8th, any court, I thought I read that court proceedings had to be dealt with by the 8th, because I read something about Pennsylvania, how so like, what's the difference between, like, okay, so Justice Alito changed the date to the 8th, or whatever, the day before or something. I don't understand.
Yeah, because if the case isn't settled by the 9th, by the end of the 8th, so if the court isn't settled on the 9th, then it's a moot point. There's no case at that point. So Alito changed the date to the 8th because he basically told.
So that's what I'm confused about with Wisconsin, though, because if we're still, like, So from what I heard, by Thursday, the decision could be made
Aha.
in Wisconsin. So that my question is, does that matter? Like as far as the 8th goes and then the 14th, or, I'm just a little confused on that. So I'm not really, I thought I understood, but I apparently don't.
Yeah, this guy's actually right. The Alito date is past the safe harbor date on his original ruling. He ruled this morning that it is moved to the 8th, so it is not past the safe harbor date. It's actually is the safe harbor date, which is Tuesday.
That's the term I was looking for, the safe harbor date. So can you explain to me, okay, so from what I'm hearing from the legal team in Wisconsin, they're moving forward with, obviously with the court case, and they were excited to get the judge that they got, and that they were able to combine it and have a reserve judge or whatever.
The real okay, let's put it this way: the hearings that Robin Voss is holding on Friday have nothing to do with the court case.
Right. So, but the court case will likely be, from what I'm hearing, will be decided by Thursday of this week. And what I'm asking is, with the safe harbor date being the 8th, is this a moot point? Or I'm just confused.
Nope, okay. Not at all.
Okay.
And that's the whole thing. They could actually, the Electoral College can vote and have their votes in 270 for Biden and all that stuff.
Okay.
And it's still not a done deal.
Okay.
On January 5th, when the Congress convenes, when they go through when they actually count the electoral votes,
right.
Any House of Representative member or senator can
vote to change something.
Vote no confidence in the vote, and they can have a debate over it.
Okay.
There's still a lot that can happen.
Okay.
So, and this is my concern. Jake Jacobs says Voss is doing nothing, and that's where I'm challenging on it. My issue with what Voss is doing is he's just paying it lip service. These hearings that he's having, they should have been held 2 weeks ago.
And what I was told is that the Wisconsin Elections Commission wanted to push the date back, to push it further. I mean, I wonder
why.
Yeah, right. And I don't know if they have the authority to say that or not, or I don't know, because I think it's okay if I say this, but I talked to Ron Tessler, and he told me that, and he said he couldn't tell me anything else. So I don't know, what, I'm not sure who has the authority to push the date back, or who has the, if the Wisconsin Elections Commission has that authority or what.
Well, the legislature actually has more authority than Robin Voss is letting on. He's saying that they don't have the authority. Okay. The United States Constitution is the authority, because in the United States Constitution, it specifically states that the state legislatures determine all that. It specifically says the legislative branch. It doesn't
when did
say
the Elections Commission get created, I wonder? When did that happen?
Oh, that was after the GAB kind of fell apart.
Oh, so it kind of took the place of that or something?
Yeah, it took the place of it, and somehow there was some finagling where the state was picked a different way to select its electors, but nobody, and I'm talking to the Republican leadership here, nobody challenged it, because that is actually unconstitutional. They needed to challenge that in court.
Interesting. Okay.
But they didn't.
The good thing about all of this going on is a lot of us are learning a lot of things because of the process of all this. I mean, we're getting educated on the Constitution and and all the stuff, all the things that our founding fathers set up, to have all these checks and balances and stuff for situations just like this. So it's definitely interesting.
Bolsa, and I'm not pronouncing your name, Bolsa. It's actually on November 30th, the end of their term, but there's nothing preventing them from reconvening their legislature on an emergency basis, except for their governor is a major Democrat, and he's not going to do it. So it doesn't matter. At this point, it's going to be a ruling by the Supreme Court. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's going to come down to that. And the Supreme Court could literally, one option is to say, President Trump, you lost, go pound sand. The other option is they could say, well, it doesn't matter how we roll on this, because 20 electoral votes isn't going to win you the presidency. So it depends on what other cases are coming there.
I was going to say, depending on other states, what other
I
states have
just
going on.
lost myself for a second. Yeah, what other states have it going on? Because he needs 36 electoral votes to take for Trump to win. He needs to get rid of 36 electoral votes from Biden. And so there's that. They could say that those mail-in ballots don't count because they changed the law without the legislature.
In Pennsylvania.
Yeah, in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So they could say that, and then that's going to set precedent in other states.
It should be so obvious. I mean, it should be so clear that the Secretary of State can't change the law. I mean, those ballots literally should not count. It shouldn't even be like a question.
But there's also another stance, and there is legal precedent for this. I think it was Ron Johnson, LBJ, Lyndon Johnson, when he won the Senate in Texas. There was some unscrupulous things going on. Go figure.
Wow.
A lot of controversy going on, and the Supreme Court actually declined to hear the case.
Really?
Because it was a state issue. But then fast forward to 2000 with Gore v. Bush.
Right.
The Supreme Court heard two cases. One of them they sent back to the lower court, and then the other one, obviously, they said stop counting, and the rest is history.
Right.
Because they said, we counted and recounted and recounted. You lost. Get over it.
How many more times you're going to count?
Yeah, and that was 5-4.
Okay. Interesting. Well, yeah, and it's hard. It's based on, I mean, obviously, I think it really is so important that Amy Coney Barrett got put on the court right before. And I think Trump knew that, and we all talked about how it was important. So I think that makes me feel a little bit better about, I mean, if she wasn't on the court, we can't trust John Roberts. And so, definitely makes me feel a little better that she's on the court. But
yeah,
I mean,
I don't know. I have to think that Roberts may actually surprise us. I'm actually, because he's not going to be the deciding vote. He's more than likely to side with the conservatives. When he's the deciding vote, he doesn't like to rock the boat. Hey, I made a rhyme.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm a rapper. You didn't even know. I'm actually thinking that I think Roberts will side. He'll side with the right, whatever the right does, because this could be 9-0 against Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's 9-0, likely 9-0 the other way. So if it was going to be 9-0.
No, I think the best we could hope for, what I'm actually predicting, I think Elena Kagan is going to be another question, because every once in a while she'll have a ruling on something that was like, wow, she'll side with conservatives.
Do you think because this would be like determining whether or not like who the president is? Do you think, because she's pretty far? I mean, she's definitely on the left. So.
Oh yeah, she's definitely on the left. But
so do you think? I would be surprised. I would be shocked because this could determine who the president would be, and I don't know. I just.
Yeah. Well, they're judges. They're not supposed to be political.
Well, they're not supposed to. I mean, most of the time, yeah, I know it's rare where they don't use
they have to. The Supreme Court basically has to decide, hey, there's too many questions. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, your elections are invalid.
Right.
And
then nobody would get to.
Then the United States Congress has to make the decision.
And how does that work literally?
Literally?
Like because
if nobody gets to 270, then the purview lies in the hands of the United States Congress. The House of Representatives selects the president. The Senate selects the vice president. The House of Representatives is done by congressional delegation, meaning state of Wisconsin would likely be a vote for Trump. Each state gets one vote.
Okay. I have heard that. It's been a while, so I was kind of like needing to review how that all works. Because I was like, well, because obviously the House of Representatives is, right now it's Democrat. Although I was going to ask you, do you know did you say there's 4 votes away from the Republicans taking the House back? Or it's like, if they're really close, and are there any outstanding races to be decided yet? Because I knew there was
I think there's like 1 or 2, but there were 2 races that were really close. One was 12 votes and one was 6 votes.
I read one was 6. Yeah.
I mean, this
Crazy.
is crazy. Here, I'm going to share my screen here. We're going to get a little convoluted here. Application window. Let's see. Here's what the 12th Amendment says. Electors shall meet in respective state dates and vote by ballot. And I think they have the president shall, in the presence of the Senate and the House of Representatives, open all certificates and the votes shall be counted. The person having the greatest number of votes for president shall be president. If such number be a majority of the whole number of electors, which in this case would be at least 270 appointed. And if no person has the majority, then for the persons having the highest numbers, not exceeding 3 on the list of those voted for as president and the House of Representatives. So basically, they choose a couple the candidates that are on there. But in choosing the presidents, the vote shall be taken by the states, the representative from each state having 1 vote. A quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or members from 2/3 of the states, and a majority of all states shall be necessary to a choice. So I don't know if the Democrats have anything to prevent a quorum. And because I believe so, it's like 33, and I think the Republicans have a majority of 30 state legislatures where are fully Republican.
Okay.
And obviously the Senate will likely be, actually the Senate would be, because the sitting vice president would be the tie-breaking vote. It's even if the new Congress takes over and it's Mitch McConnell, or it's Chuck Schumer, let's say the Democrats win that, they'll only be at 50 votes. That means that Mike Pence is still the tie-breaking vote.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So
wow.
it would like
nothing can be. Everything's got to be really like exciting and like this close. Everything's like really close.
Now, one thing that I am concerned about is what's going to happen to Trump if the Democrats do take over on everything. Because they may go after him legally, try to go after him legal, put him in legal jeopardy, and then he doesn't have the protection of the presidency and all that stuff. Sure. I think if President Trump indeed loses, and it's a foregone conclusion, it's done, it's everything, January 20th, Joe Biden is going to become president. I think on the 19th, President Trump should resign. Mike Pence should come in, pardon the president and his family.
Can you do that?
Yeah, he can.
Really interesting.
I don't know that. I mean, there's no precedent. No president has ever pardoned themselves, and that might be another thing you can do. But I think, I think for his own protection, because I don't think.
Isn't it sad that we have to like even think about that's what they would do? Because that's what they would likely. I mean, is like the Democrats are so far down, like they're just so corrupt.
Or he hops on Air Force One and then goes in exile somewhere, so until we can get him back in power.
Right. There you go.
I don't know.
Sounds like a plan.
No, but honestly, I don't trust the Democrats, even though Joe Biden says he has no. And I actually take him at his word on that he doesn't want to go after the president, but he's not in charge.
No. Well, did you hear what he said the other day about like he would like just say he had some disease and then like resign, or because I go, he didn't say that.
Oh yeah, he said it. He did say it.
What is he talking about?
This was a while back. Oh God, I think I posted it on Facebook too. Let me try to find it. By the way, while I'm looking for this, did you watch any of his speech last night from Georgia?
No, I was gone. I was driving home from Madison, and so I didn't get a chance, and I didn't have a chance to watch it today. So I did hear a few things here and there, but I didn't watch the whole thing.
Oh yeah, no, but it was brilliant. It was fun, and it was kind of titillating too. Pardon the expression, but it was where when he said ask Collins if he wanted to run for governor in 2 years.
Who?
He asked Congressman Collins if he wants to run for governor of Georgia in 2 years. Remember, Georgia has a Republican governor.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
so
not a fan of him right now.
Here's this. Joe Biden is asked about disagreements with Kamala Harris on certain issues. And he said, like I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we'll have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign. I mean, it's like he's already planning for it.
This is like the Freudian slip with the greatest voting
fraud apparatus or what?
Yeah, right, in history. Yeah, he told us before it happened that that's what he was doing, or they were doing, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I have to hope that the pressure that we're pushing on our legislators will help.
yeah,
I even told Robin Voss, I go, dude, if you do the right thing and you fight this and you do everything in your power to fix all this, make it better, or whatever,
yeah.
show us that you're working for us. I'll be the first one out there championing
We will
him.
have your back 100%. Like if only I've been telling some other legislators, I said, most of the people I know who are grassroots, and even people that aren't necessarily like plugged in politically, but they care about the country. They want to fight this. They are totally disheartened and disenfranchised and feeling like, why vote? And we need to fix this, and this needs to be fixed now. And we need and it's, again, we've talked about this. It's not just about this election, although certainly it does matter, because we shouldn't have an election stolen from us. That's what's going on. I mean, they're literally trying to steal this election, or they have technically stolen it unless it gets turned around. And so
you realize they're going to implement mail-in voting nationally if they have power.
Oh yeah. Well, exactly. There's so many reasons why Donald Trump needs to be president. But we also need to get for future elections too, of course. So it's everything.
Well, he definitely needs to fight, and he's fighting, and I'm glad he's fighting. And I'm pissed off at a lot of the federal legislators and state legislators for that matter. Where's our I know Tommy Thompson is a huge supporter of Trump, and he's been publicly out there. But Scott Walker, silent. You Paul Ryan saying, "Oh, he should just step down."
Paul Ryan
he should concede.
Obviously, yeah, I'm not.
Yeah,
even
Paul Ryan's an asshole. I'll say it straight out.
Well, it's I don't know what happened, or the past several years I've obviously I've become disillusioned with him. So I think that I would like to see more people speaking up and we want action too, but just verbally being supportive. I do feel like the president is kind of out on his own in some ways. So I feel like, isn't it treason since they're trying to steal election?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
this is the foundation of our nation is based on people choosing who represents us. And if that is being compromised.
Yeah, I love it, Tracy. Yes, Paul Ryan does suck. And it is treason. And I think people will end up, if President Trump pulls this off, there will be people going to jail.
And there
will be, there need to be people, I'm sorry, they need to be executed, because we have, and I don't support the death penalty, and I'm saying this. We have, I got to do something really quick. Figure out. I was looking really blue. Now I look great. I don't know why I was looking so blue. Okay. But anyway, they need to make an example, or these people need to be put in prison for 20 years or something. They need, because the
major consequences.
The right to vote is the very foundation of our government. It's our country. This is the foundation.
Yep.
And if we have no confidence in the vote, and then they need to do things to make everything all better. No, they need to do everything to straighten out the laws, be very specific, and they need to get rid of electronic voting machines.
Yeah.
Count the freaking ballots by hand, and a law that requires you have to have all ballots counted
by election day at the end of the day. Or excuse me, all the ballots would have to be in. I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say.
I would give them till 8 a.m. the next morning.
Right.
That way they count through the night.
Why is it
and they can't stop counting?
Yeah. Why is it that Wisconsin? I mean, I know why. I'm just asking rhetorically. Why is it that Wisconsin finished their counting? In the middle of the night they were doing it, but okay, so they weren't counting for days after, like Pennsylvania was. Pennsylvania was getting hundreds of thousands of votes throughout the rest of the week.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why is that?
because they had 6 more days. It's been very
And they needed to
inconsistent.
catch up. Think about how many votes Trump was ahead by, like 700,000.
Yep.
He was ahead by a lot. So they had to have time to make up all that
I
ground.
think I lost her. Or I
Did
think
you
I
lose?
lost everybody. Oh, I'm back again.
Oh, okay.
I lost.
Okay. Yep, you're there.
I froze.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, isn't it interesting that Pennsylvania, like Trump was ahead by 700,000, so they needed several days to catch up with all, it's like Wisconsin was able to get it done much quicker, but well, because our laws, I mean, number one, our law said that you had to have it in by um, the end of the, well, and their law did too, but the Secretary of State changed it. So
Oh, yeah, they got 6 additional days in the Supreme Court. It was a 4-4 tie.
oh, was it?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it
Yep.
was okay. I was
No,
thinking it was 5-4.
It was a 4-4 tie, so the lower court ruling stood, which was
Oh,
with
that's
the
what it was.
Democrats. Mhm.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, the Wisconsin lawsuit that went to the Supreme Court, Robert sided with the conservatives, and we had to have our ballots in by the end of election day.
Right. So I don't understand. Well, hey, can you, and maybe that you just reminded me that there's that one, is it Nathan Pease or something, came out and he was like claiming that the post office wanted them to backdate the ballots that came in after election day. The only thing is our state was not supposed to be taking any.
It didn't matter.
Right. I think in our state, I don't even really know if it would have mattered. So that's where
I don't know. I think there might be allegations of backdating here too.
Okay, but didn't we finish like?
But I think they had to be in by election day too. So I don't think there were any ballots showing up. But that wasn't the case in April when they got to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So I know the thing is too. It's so hard to keep track of all because there's so many states. There's so many things in different states going on. There's different laws in different states, and there's different things that were done.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was 143,000 votes around 3:30 in the morning, all went for Biden in Milwaukee. And it's weird. And they were the anecdotes that I've heard from some people that were working it. It's crazy.
I was talking with Scott Frostman, who's the Sauk County chair. And he said he was at the Madison or the Dane County recount as a poll watcher. And he said that there was like a stack of 150 ballots that, they were counting, and it was all Biden, every single one, not one Trump. Mm-hmm. And that just doesn't, I mean, there was that. And then there was also, he said something about the signatures. Oh, I know what it was. He said that the county clerk is supposed to initial the ballots or the envelopes, and apparently different people with different handwriting were writing. They were initialing the envelopes, and when he asked about it, apparently all the different the people working in the clerk's office or whatever were just initialing the initials of the county clerk. And I'm like, you can't. Why is somebody else initialing your initials? Like, and how do you know that that's, so
there's a lot that happened in Wisconsin that was just crazy. There's a lot of it. Yep. The whistleblowers from USPS, I don't know if there's any in Wisconsin, but there's a few in Pennsylvania and Michigan.
Yeah. There's some other states that I think our state is like the least, I mean, there's plenty going on, like, as far as like with stuff I just mentioned, but as far as like, because of how our laws are set up, it's at least a little bit easier to get a handle on some of it. But I mean, they also try to get around the laws. The Democrats try to get around the laws.
Well, the fact that we required signatures, but that whole indefinitely confined thing is one that, and isn't it amazing how the Democrats are always doing something to make voter fraud easier and less secure election? Yeah, could the president do some sort of executive order to help this situation? I think he did about 8 months ago. There was some sort of executive order, and there's a lot of stuff that in the rumor mill that there was stuff happening. There was a firefight in Germany and all this stuff about some kind of server that they had or something like that. I haven't seen any proof of that, but we'll see we'll see what happens. I don't know that the president could do anything now because that could be challenged in court too. And you can't after the fact. The election was November 3rd. I don't
Did you
know. I
see
don't know if
that
the president can do anything.
I think in Georgia, I thought I read a congressman, what's his name? It's gonna bug me now. Jody, it's a guy, Jody, I forget, but I think from Georgia was saying that they were, how they got the ability that there was a judge who granted them the ability to to audit the machines. And they said they found, and this is a tweet somebody sent me, so I have to look further into it. So I want to make sure I don't want to say something that's not true, but the tweet was allegedly from this congressman saying that they were able to audit some of these machines, and they put in an equal amount of Biden votes and an equal amount of Trump votes, and then it came out that it changed Biden. The vote. It was like the majority were for Biden. So again, I just like earlier this evening saw
I know what you're talking about. Yes, there are people doing random tests of these machines.
Yes.
There was also an audit in the state of Nevada where they took 100 ballots.
Okay.
Or was it Arizona? It was Arizona.
Okay.
They took 100 ballots and 2 of them were incorrect.
Oh, yes.
And so the judge ordered another 2,000 to be audited because 2 out of 100, when you have 2%. Millions cast, you're talking a pretty significant margin there.
And the margin of victory is not, I forget what it is.
11,000 votes or something like that.
It's less than 1%. So
it's like
there you go. I mean, it could, and those were like, it sounds like they were like it wasn't some mistake. It was like the ballots were purposely, or I don't know how they know all that, but anyways,
there were ballots that should have been for Trump that were counted as Biden.
Exactly.
And
so,
that's
right.
That's the stuff that's happening. And we won't know. There's a lot of speculation until the end of the day.
Yeah, each day there's something new coming up, it seems like. So
yeah, and all I can tell people, be patient. There's a lot more happening.
Yep.
Even if they certify the election, even if the Electoral College votes, it is not over.
Right.
It may seem over. CNN is going to say it's over.
They're going to be celebrating like it's over.
Ultimately, when the Supreme Court rules on multiple states, then it's over until the Supreme Court rules. And if they don't rule, and the Supreme Court could just say, we're not going to hear it. It's a state issue. Sorry.
No, I think did I read something about Justice Alito because of a decision he made, a ruling he made, probably in Pennsylvania? Like somebody said that was kind of like a sign of that he's going to be willing.
Don't take it for granted. He's either willing to listen to it. Don't take anything for granted.
Sure. Well, and I don't want to assume anything.
They're making assumptions. The left and right are both making assumptions on it. I'm not taking anything for granted because we don't know how Comey Barrett's going to vote. We don't know how Gorsuch is going to vote. Kavanaugh, I think we can count on Kavanaugh, Thomas, and
why do you think
Alito?
Coney Barrett?
We don't know. She has no track record.
I feel fairly confident about her, but
we'll see.
I feel pretty confident.
We'll see. I'm not taking anything for granted. Obviously, we don't even know how Roberts is going to vote, to be honest with you.
Well,
we can assume he's a no. Yeah, we can assume he's a no. But like I said, if he's not the tie-breaking vote, then there's a chance he'll be a yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's made rulings before that I agree with, but then it seems like on the big things, that's where I get disappointed. So
that's what we hear. All right. Well, thanks a lot for hopping on the show. I'm just going to,
I'm going to go to bed now.
You're going to go to bed now. I know.
It's 11 o'clock.
We're spending all these late nights together. People are going to start talking,
I like to talk politics, even if it's late at night. So,
let's create a constitution. All right. Okay. No, but but don't give up hope. There's hope out there.
Nope, there's hope.
Yeah. But even so, we got to win those 2 Senate seats no matter what. And I give kudos to President Trump. It could have been all about him. No, he was really harping on, we got to vote. He said, my friends are saying don't vote just to prove a point. No, you got to vote. We can't risk with whatever his name was.
We got to fight the election the corruption in elections and vote at the same time. We got to do both.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, we got to vote them in office. Are they perfect? Probably not, but we need them. Without
we need
them,
to have the Senate. We need to have the
the
Senate.
Constitution is dead, because we will get mail-in voting nationwide. We will get no voter ID nationwide. We will get statehood for Puerto Rico, 2 more Democrat senators. We will get statehood for DC, 2 more Democrat senators. And we will get 13 justices on the Supreme Court, and all the new justices will be liberal.
Yep. So we can't have that. We cannot have that.
We can't have that, because it's the end of our country. I mean, it really is.
Pretty much.
Then we have controlled capitalism, similar to what they have in China. It's the capitalism. They have some capitalism there. They have McDonald's. They have other things. They picked up a few things from Hong Kong, but that's what they want to make here in the United States. There'll be one party rule, and that would be it. And if you dissent, if you dare speak out, it'll be considered hate speech. That'll be how they'll get around. It's already in
the direction we're going. I mean, that's already like, it'll be like official, or it'll be like completed then.
Yep. That'll be how they get around the Constitution. Exactly. The First Amendment, Second Amendment will be there, but they'll be heavily diluted. So, all right. Well, thanks for coming on. I will talk to you later. Stay out of trouble. If not, have fun.
Okay. Thanks, Ferris. Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. That was Stephanie. So we're at a precipice. That's why President Trump needs to keep fighting this. He does not need to concede. He shouldn't concede. So we can shed more light on this. Whether he wins or not, we need to shed more light on this, because the public needs to know, because the public is ignorant. So, but keep pressure on our state legislators. Keep pressure on, even put pressure on Tony Evers. Why not? Maybe he'll listen. You never know. Miracles could happen. He wants to be liked. So everybody, thank you for joining, and make sure you follow me on Tinder, and not Tinder. I keep saying that, on Twitter. You can follow me on Tinder too, but follow me on Tinder, Twitter at Paris Procopus. Follow me on Parler at Paris Procopus. Follow me on MeWe at Paris Procopus. Follow me on CloudHub at Paris Procopus. Are you seeing a pattern here? At Paris Procopus. That's what I am everywhere. I'm that way on LinkedIn and everywhere else too. So guys, make sure to follow me. Make sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It helps me out with their algorithm. I'm trying to build the audience there. Hopefully get this monetized, because if I can monetize this and I can make some income from this, I can come to you more often and do more things instead of doing other things for sustenance. But also make sure that you go to my website, parisprocopus.com, and you can you can donate there. There's a donate link there. And feel free to share me with your friends, and keep the faith out there, my friends. Keep the faith out there. There's a good chance things will be changing. I think there's possibilities here. All right. So I will talk to you guys later. Have a great night. Bye.